Mrs. Peachtree was a nice old lady, but I've always suspected something strange about her. She always wears purple, she only comes outside to water her peach tree, she always gives out candy to the bad children, and her house is on a hilltop. On our way to school, we walked very fast as we tried to ignore the creepy rag doll peeping at us through her living room window. Some of my friends had even said that the missing children from our neighborhood were in Mrs. Peachtree's house. Unfortunately, one of those children was my best friend, Jennifer. One morning, my friend Adam and I did school. As usual, we saw Mrs. Peachtree come outside to water her tree, but this time instead of going back inside her house, she goes to her small car. She leaves and is nowhere in sight. Adam and I looked at each other, and we started up the hill. Mrs. Peachtree left her door unlocked, and we curiously went inside. Big mistake. When we got inside, to our surprise, everything looked normal. But then Adam opens her closet with fear. He sees many books about witchcraft, potions, and spell books. We share a puzzled look. We went to the living room, and we saw a big black pot and a book turned to a spell on page 61. It had a title in big bold letters that said From Tots to Toys, and to our surprise, one of her ingredients was peaches. Oh my God, Mrs. Peachtree is a witch, I said, surprised. We scoped out the kitchen looking for everything. Suddenly we hear a loud screech. Did you hear that? I asked Adam. Then we heard another screech. What are you children doing in my house? Mrs. Peachtree asked. Adam and I were speechless. Then she ran towards us, saying, how about I give you some candy? Adam and I ran for the front door. Good thing for us, Mrs. Peachtree could not move as fast as we could. Just as we was about to leave, I grabbed the rag doll and said, poor doll, you don't have to be in this house anymore. I came back home sweating like crazy from all the running. I'm never going back to that house again. I took a shower, put on my pajamas, and went to bed. I snuggled next to the rag doll from Mrs. Peachtree's house, trying to get some rest. I still couldn't believe she was a witch. In the middle of the night, I got a call from Adam's mother. She was terribly worried. Adam had not returned home. I called his cell, and a lady that sounded just like Miss Peachtree answered the phone. If you want to see Adam again, you better return that doll. I had never been so scared in my life. How can I save Adam from a witch by myself? I'm only 13, and I don't even know what she's going to do to me for coming inside of her house and taking her doll. I began to cry. Then I thought about it. Adam is my best friend. He would save me if I was in this predicament. I gathered up all my courage and snuck out the house with the rag doll on my way to Mrs. Peachtree's house. When I got to the door, it opened by itself. I wanted to turn around and hide under my covers, but my friend was in danger. This time, the house had changed. I heard Mrs. Peachtree laughing and muffles from Adam. I walked in the room with the rag doll. Mrs. Peachtree, I have your doll, now let Adam go. Just then I heard a small cry. It sounded like it was coming from the doll. Christia, it's me, Jen. I'm trapped in here. Don't let her take me away. Mrs. Peachtree looked at me devilishly and said, you found out my secret. All of the missing children are toys now. You see, I can have children on my own, and Mr. Peachtree left me for that. So I started practicing witchcraft and poisoned the candy so I could trap them into toys. And now you will be punished too. I tried to run out the door because I knew I could outrun her, but somehow she sped up to me. She had me cornered. Open wide, my dear, she said as she forced the candy into my mouth. You are going to make a fine stuffed bear. The next morning, I looked around, and to my surprise, I was a stuffed bear. All the toys surrounded me, and we screamed for help, but no one could hear us. Mrs. Peachtree was a nice old lady, but I've always suspected something strange about her. She always wears purple. She only comes outside to water her peach tree. She always gives out candy to the bad children, and her house is on a hilltop. My friends and I walked past her house after school. Some of my friends had even said that the missing children from our neighborhood were in Mrs. Peachtree's house, and now one of those children was me.